Welcome our next speaker, Leah Faul.
Thank you, everybody. Okay, that couldn't have been more perfect. Thank you, Jeff. When the blockchain video was going, I looked around, and I think like at least half of you almost fell asleep. And that's okay, because blockchain is so boring. But what we're going to talk about is not blockchain. It's not the intricacies of blockchain or how it works. What we're going to talk about are the opportunities that blockchain brings. And what I'm going to do is be incredibly authentic and tell you that, and my employee actually told me not to do this, but I like to not listen to people, which is probably bad. But she said, don't go and tell them that you don't really know how the blockchain works. But I don't really know how the blockchain works. Every time I watch a video like that, every time that I hear more about it, I realize that there's more and more that I don't know about how the blockchain works. But what I know is enough to know that content marketing will intersect with this thing. And those of us that understand that in the beginning will be ahead of the curve. And so I just want to light a fire under you guys. I want to get us excited and get us fired up about the opportunities and out of the weeds of the technicalities of blockchain. Does that make sense? Everyone good? Okay, now I'm going to make everybody stand up. Come on. We need some energy in here. Okay, everybody up. Now I want you to do your favorite stretch and say all the words about blockchain that you don't like, or just talk about the person to your left. Okay, go, move, stretch. Bounce around a little bit, because we're about to talk about blockchain. We've got to get some energy in here. We're all going to go to sleep. Okay, you can sit down now. I don't think my clicker is working. It's not moving on to the next slide. Yeah. Okay. All right, so this is me. This is my husband. My husband's Travis. He is a blockchain expert, and he's also early crypto investor. So that's me to the right, and where the money goes, mama follows. And so I started learning a little bit about it. That's Einstein. And the point of Einstein in this talk is that you don't have to be Einstein to understand this. I'm also owner of 15,000 Cubits, a strategic digital marketing firm. I am president of Houston Interactive Marketing Association, and often I don't promote content marketing. So if content's created and nobody reads it, what's the point, right? It's kind of like what they say, if a tree falls in the woods and nobody hears it, does it even make a sound? So what I'd like to tell us, and what I'd like for us to think about, is that I believe content marketing as we know it is broken. In 2016, Global Data actually said that 44 billion gigabytes of data every day was being added to the internet. Now, if the trends keep going in the way that they thought at that time, and that they have shown go, that means that this is an everyday number. That's a lot of content. That's a lot of data, 465 billion gigabytes of data. How can people navigate through that? How can people sift through that? How can we, who at this moment, raise your hand, is marketing a company with content, social media, website, blog, or their own brand, or another content? Raise your hands in here. Okay, how can we expect our potential leads, our customers, to find content about our brands if there's that much content out there? The other problem, and this I have to be very careful because I get on a soapbox so bad, and I get really passionate about this. I've been in content marketing for over a decade. My brain's very strategic, though, so I always think about, like, how do I solve a problem? How do I fix this? And so that really works for content marketing. A lot of individuals have taken a $9.99 course on Udemy, though, and they call themselves a content marketer. We need implementers. We need individuals that are learning how to do strategies by executing on it. The problem is that there are a lot of implementers, a lot of individuals that are new in content marketing, and they position themselves as experts. They learn a couple buzzwords, right? They learn enough to sell maybe a $50,000 retainer or sell some company on activity. And if you're working on behalf of a brand, maybe you've hired a contractor like this. Or maybe you've seen somebody position this, or you've talked to, if you're an agency, a client that's been burnt. Because that's usually, I've had my agency for 3 years, and that's usually where I wind up, is I wind up on the receiving end of somebody that comes to me and they say, I don't even believe in this content marketing thing. I just got burnt by the last person. They said it was going to take time, and 9 months in I wasted $50,000 and so much time. So the problem is everybody says that they're a content marketer, but really what content needs is a really good strategy. The internet doesn't need more content. What we need to do, who has read Blue Ocean Strategy? Okay, I'm going to give you a simple example of what that means. So Blue Ocean Strategy is a great book. There's actually a sequel that was written about it too. What it talks about is the fact that you have a brand has a blue ocean and a red ocean. In the blue ocean, you have wide open space to market to the people that you're trying to talk to without competition, without saturation in the market. It's out there, and so the whole book is saying like, find the blue ocean, and then it talks about how we gravitate towards what we know. So often we stay in the red ocean, we stay in the competition, and I would like for us as marketers to think that that's what we're doing at the moment. I think that we're just so used to our strategies are evolving. Strategies are getting more intricate. They're amazing, right? It takes really bright people to pull off a content marketing strategy these days. It's because it's so saturated. The market's so saturated. It's so hard to get heard. And so that's where blockchain comes in. Everything that was discussed earlier and what was talked about is great. I can't remember who it was, but she's brilliant. When she talked about some opportunity from one of the blockchain companies, there are tons of those out there. I'm going to show you a slide and show you how much angel investors are putting into these companies, but there are tons of companies being developed on the blockchain that open up tremendous amounts of opportunity for content marketers. And so there's this blue ocean. There's this area that's just open to run in with content. And so what I would like for us to do as marketers is to open our minds to the opportunities that blockchain has. What we don't do, you don't ever hear a large, like let's say SEO Moz, HubSpot, here, you usually don't have somebody come in and say, here's how you set up a router. Right? Here's how you connect servers to make the internet work. Have you guys ever sat through one of those talks? Wouldn't you take an extra break during that? Like, would not want to know it, right? And so for blockchain, I think the problem is we're getting so sucked into the weeds of how it works. I'm not saying it doesn't matter. What I'm saying is don't get so sucked into the weeds of how it works. Do what you do with the internet. Learn the possibilities, and then build on top of the possibilities for your brand. Does that make sense? No. Great. Innovation is where content marketing thrives. So blockchain. This is what everybody thinks the blockchain is. It is a digital ledger in which transactions made in Bitcoin or another cryptocurrency are recorded chronologically and publicly. What's misleading about this is that most people don't know that hundreds of thousands of companies are being developed on the blockchain. And when it says for another cryptocurrency, every company being developed on the blockchain and using that technology has a cryptocurrency. It was kind of teased earlier, but we're going to talk about Starbucks and how Starbucks is doing this. I want to get into the meat of this and show you how they're getting data and how they're using the blockchain. But what they have to do is they have to have a cryptocurrency associated with what they're building on the blockchain. Does that make sense? So when this says a digital ledger in which transactions made in Bitcoin or another cryptocurrency are recorded chronologically and publicly, does that make you think money? But not in the traditional sense, right? Is everyone following me on that? Everyone thinks Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, money. No, and you could literally exchange that cryptocurrency word for startup companies, new technology, because those startup companies and new technologies are replaced by cryptocurrency in this definition. See what I'm saying? So let me reread it to you. A digital ledger in which transactions made in Bitcoin or another technology or new startup company, it's recorded chronologically and publicly. Does that sound a little different to you? So that's what's happening, because every new startup, every new company that's being developed on the blockchain with that technology is represented as a cryptocurrency. Blockchain itself brings to the table, everyone, what do you think of when you think blockchain? Somebody, I guess I have to throw this to you. Okay. Just a couple words. Just a couple words.
To me, it is like it's like a security feature.
Security.
Yeah,
Okay.
security, and it is encrypted.
Encrypted.
Yeah, so and it is a great investment opportunity right up to December last year. That's all I know about blockchain.
Yeah. I might argue that. Okay, next. Anybody else? Come on. Just a couple words. What do you think of? If I were to say, pass it that table, somebody's got a word for me. Just a word. Just a word. You heard blockchain. What do you think?
When I first heard about blockchain, I thought it had to do with supply chain and some way of increasing efficiency by, I don't know, pulling things together or blocking, because I kind of associated supply chain and then also block time management.
That's good. Anybody else? Maybe somebody that's not familiar with it at all. What do you think?
Hip-hop band.
Nice. That's good. That's good. Anybody think Bitcoin? Anybody think Bitcoin? Lots of people think Bitcoin, I think. Where are my people with my phobias? Okay, phobia. What do you got for us?
Okay, so I found the phobia for failure, which is called phobia.
Okay, that's ridiculous. Pass it behind you. Thank you.
I found a phobia called, it was the fear of cell phones, and it was called nomophobia.
Awesome. Another one. Who else has got one? Over here. Over here. I'm going to have you guys tweet me later, and we are going to literally create the word that means fear of the blockchain. We're going to create it.
So I had to find the fear of long words.
How's this?
Hippopotamonstrosis quipedaliophobia.
The longest word ever. It's the longest word ever. I'm trying to tell us, don't be afraid of this. Don't be afraid of this. So much opportunity here. Cryptocurrency and blockchain, they're separate things, okay? But cryptocurrency is what facilitates activity on the blockchain. $6 billion was invested in blockchain at the beginning of the year, 2017. December 2017, $600 billion was invested on the blockchain. That's just a little jump. So where we are is that innovators, when we're talking about blockchain, we're looking at the big scary chasm. And when I practiced this, I did call it the chasm, and my employee fixed it. Innovators are the developers. They're the people that understand the technology. Then you have the early adopters, and the early adopters are represented in that jump from 6 billion to 600 billion, right? Those are the early adopters. I would like for you to, if you're actually interested in this, which I hope you are after this, if you're not, then what was the word, fear of failure? So I'm just kidding. So if you're looking at, I tell you, look this up. Look up the founders of Amazon, WebMD, let's see, eBay, MapQuest. 4 of the largest companies that jumped on Web 2.0, and the companies took off, right? There were innovators in the front end of it. There were innovators there that saw the internet. They saw it in the early stages. They saw it right where we're at right now, and they were like, hey, I'm not afraid of that. I'm just going to figure out how to work, and we're going to go for this. And they're the innovators. You know what they're all doing? They are every single one of those early founders involved in those companies that jumped on the internet when nobody else was, when we were in the middle of that gap, or right before the gap, actually, the early adopters. They're the early adopters. They're angel investors now. They're angel investors, mentors, board members, and managing partners of early stage startups that are represented in that 6 to 600 billion jump of the early adopters of blockchain technology. $600 billion, $594 billion of investment Those are the early adopters. That's a significant amount of money. It's a significant investment. Where we're at right now is that big, scary chasm. It's that big gap where you either see it, you see the trends, you look at those innovators, and you decide to figure out how to make this thing work for your company, for yourself, and you get in early. Because does any content marketer tell me what's one of the best things that a company can have when you're trying to get the top 3 spots on Google? Longevity? Your website's been there longest? You've built trust with Google? What does that mean they likely did? They got in on it early, right? You can do your company and yourself a favor if you just understand the top half of this blockchain thing. So where do blockchain and content converge? They converge at the problems. The problem is, most people don't know what the problems are because they're problems that we've begun to evolve around, create strategies around, and work around because we've adopted to them. So the new roads that have been paved for this start with a few companies that I have investigated, and these companies are all creating pilot programs on the blockchain. I'm currently involved in it. The slide earlier in Jeff's presentation showed Walmart, I think, and Amazon up here. We're going to look into Walmart, but I'm going to start with Starbucks. So I could go really deep in this, but I'm going to keep it top level, and I'm going to talk about the opportunities that Starbucks is bringing to the table from a marketing perspective, okay? So what Starbucks is doing is they are developing on the blockchain. They are developing with the supply chain aspect of their beans. Everyone following that? But they're also developing on the app. Who has the Starbucks app on their phone? Raise your hand. Okay. So at some point, if things move forward with their blockchain app that they're developing, you will be rewarded in beans or tokens or whatever it is that Starbucks creates as their coin, their currency. Y'all following? And so that, let's call it a bean. That's Starbucks bean. Maybe you have your visual cup. I don't have a Starbucks app. But maybe you have your visual cup right here, and you're rewarded in your beans or whatever as you make purchases. That bean, those rewards, they have a value, a cash value. They have a digital value. So you all understand on the cryptocurrency, it's like a stock market, okay? So you can exchange cryptocurrency and it all holds a value. It holds a value in Bitcoin, but that Bitcoin holds a value in cash. Following? So there's a couple layers there. But this Starbucks reward will have a value. So they're going to eventually move to creating cashless stores. There are a lot of benefits that would come from this, but we're keeping this all content marketing, right? So in that aspect, when they move to cashless stores, one of the ways that they'll do that is through Starbucks' amazing marketing and branding and how they are very good at incentivizing activity from their customer base. So they're going to incentivize their app users to move over to the cashless system, and that means you will actually be using digital currency. You might not know it because it might be labeled as a bean, because they're smart, but you will be using blockchain value. You'll have blockchain value in that bean. It will be represented as value in a bean or whatever they call it. And so they may say you get 3 cups of coffee. If you were to pay in cash, you'd get 1, but you get 3 cups of coffee if you use your reward. And so they move you over, and you move over into the cashless store system that they have in the future. But stay with me here, guys. It gets really good. What happens is that I'm not going to tell you how it happens, but because that's like a 3-hour talk, a 3-day talk. What they're going to be able to do is literally, this is mind-blowing, literally, they can track your cup of coffee you get all the way back to the bean. Y'all following me? That's kind of mind-blowing if you think about it. But I'm going to ask you to twist your brains even more. What does that mean from a content perspective? I put authenticity and brand loyalty. Authenticity perspective. From a content marketing perspective, if you can, instead of marketing that coffee as a Starbucks coffee, what can you do? Say fair trade? Yes, I'm not sure exactly what you mean, and I want to talk to you later about that because I think it's probably really good. What were you going to say?
Find out who likes where, what area of the world.
Where, what, who, yes. you can brand the roasters. You can brand the farmers.
Yeah, that's what I was talking
Fair trade, perfect, yeah.
all the way back and tell the story of the woman who picked the bean.
Exactly, yes. And you can brand that specific Colombian bean farmer, and you can learn his story, and you can create content partnerships and partnerships with the farmers and the roasters. You can create their story, and you can connect it with the cup of coffee that somebody is drinking. And then as far as loyalty, oh my goodness. What if you decide you hate Starbucks, but you love that roaster, and they only supply Starbucks? Are you going to possibly keep going to Starbucks because you can get it from that roaster, or you can get it from that bean farmer that you fell in love with their family, or you fell in love with the story of them? That loyalty is just unsurmountable what you can do with those opportunities as far as content. The supply chain's where everybody's headed right now, but there's so much opportunity as far as the data that's being pulled in, because that data that's being pulled in is coming in fast, it's coming in hot, but it's so valuable. It literally, like, think about the wine industry, right? You don't just drink Cabernet. You go and possibly you might spend a couple $100s for a really good cab because you know the winery. Or you might buy the cheap stuff like I do. But the fact of the matter is there's people that go and they spend tons of money because of the winery. It's the same thing for all of these different supply chain opportunities where that data is being pulled in. Is that making sense, everyone? Content. Think about content. Think about opportunities. So what I want you to start thinking when you hear about blockchain, don't get stuck in the weeds. Don't get stuck in the how does it work. Get above that and think, what's the data that's being brought in? What kind of new data do I get? What kind of story can I tell with that? And how can I create loyalty? How can I create authenticity with that? And how can possibly, if my company is not at the Walmart size yet, how can we be ready for that when the technology adapts, because it always does, right? When the technology becomes accessible. So it's that competitive edge. Imagine if, Starbucks already has a brand edge, but imagine if they have that extra edge, almost unstoppable, right? I would think almost unstoppable. And that's not the only industry. Every industry is heading in this direction. Walmart. This is pretty awesome. Everyone remember Bluebell? The Bluebell thing that happened? Everyone? Did anybody go and stand at their freezer and they really wanted Bluebell? For anybody that wasn't here in Texas, I think it was a Texas thing, right? Bluebell got pulled off the shelves and people cried and everyone lost their mind. Walmart could have come out on top if this had been a year earlier. Because what Walmart's doing is that they have a pilot program on the blockchain too. And they're developing on the blockchain. There are some awesome things. If you go, CoinDesk has really good information. If you want to learn about these brands and what they're developing on the blockchain, how they're using it, go to CoinDesk and start reading some of the articles there. But what Walmart's doing is they are going with their live food. They're taking it to the blockchain. So all of the, and in the supply chain, all of the produce, what's the technical term there? The creators, the growers, the farmers, they are all, I don't know how technical that is. Anyways, so they're putting all the live food on the blockchain. Let's talk about Bluebell though, because I'm really good at analogies. What they did with Walmart is they took the trackability of their food from 6 days, follow me here, to 2 seconds. To track food like Bluebell, it takes 6 days. They have to pull it off the shelf for that long to track where that truck of ice cream that sat out in the sun for 2 days and caused every container of Bluebell to get taken off the shelf. It takes 6 days right now to track that. 2 seconds on the blockchain. 2 seconds. So let's think about that as a content marketer. Brand differentiation. If Walmart is the only grocer that has their food supply chain, their live food, on the blockchain, and they're able to minimize that time from 6 days to 2 seconds, from a content marketing perspective, what messaging can be given? What opportunity is there? Not only the opportunity to have that brand trust and that trustworthiness up front before anything happens, but what about responsive content in the moment? When you can say, hey, all you people that love Bluebell, head to your fridge because you're good, except for this area right here because these 3 stores got it. We're sorry. Go around the corner, you'll be fine. Right? How amazing would that be as a content marketer, instead of putting the same Facebook message out there, to be able to put that on Facebook? Oh my smokes. Like, drop the mic. I don't have a mic, it's on my ear. But I do have red lightsaber earrings. I wanted to make sure everyone saw those. Before this is over, I've got 3 minutes left. Competitive advantage. Trust. It's amazing. Are you guys starting to think about it a little different? Starting to think about the data? Think about the data. This is really cool. I'm going to glaze over it really fast, but it's awesome. So in Shanghai Week at a fashion show, Baby Ghost, which is a pretty prominent brand, they partnered with VeChain. VeChain is a company that tracks products on the blockchain for authenticity. And so they take a teeny tiny chip and they embed it into like a very, very, very expensive purse or outfit, and then you can track the authenticity of that product. It never changes. Not going to tell you how, but all that stuff on the blockchain that made us want to go to sleep, that's how. So the authenticity of the product, but the experiential piece of this is amazing. You get an experiential story with this product that you would never get unless you have the blockchain technology. Because what they can do is they can tell you what model wore that before you bought it or before you saw it. They can tell you where it was, and you can build that as a content marketer into your story, selling that piece of clothing or selling that product. They're putting this in purses, they're putting this in wines, they're putting this in clothing, and then they're bringing it to fashion shows, and they're telling stories about the clothing based on the history of the information that's saved on the blockchain. Cool, huh? That's pretty awesome. So don't take it from them, there's more. Okay, Brave is a really cool thing. So this is a paradigm shift from the search engine that we have now, the ones that we're used to now and how they work, and the way it's going with search engines. Brave's one of them. You can look them up. Brave is faster. They've actually done tests that show that CNN, I think, loads 7 times faster than on Chrome, on Brave, and Fox News loads 4.5 times faster on Brave than Chrome. The reason why is because there's no tracking and there's no ads available on Brave. And the reason why is because they're shifting it. They don't get compensated for ad spend. So like PPC, Google gets the money for the ad spend, you pay them. For Brave, they have a BAT token, basic attention token, and you get a BAT token whenever you let an ad get shown to you. So you get compensated, and that has a cash value, by the way. So go look up Brave, it's awesome. Common denominator, find ways to build, these companies are finding ways to bring in valuable data, right? As content marketers, we need to look at that and think about it and be ready. 24 more ways, I can't do it, and I wasn't planning on doing it, but you're gonna get the slide deck because these are all ways, and all companies, these are all companies that are developing ways to improve our lives as content marketers. So what will you do next with this? If you have any questions, you can contact me at info@15000cubits.com or hit me up on Twitter, Leah Faul. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you very much. And let's give a round of applause to Leah.